Okay, today we're gonna had a question on how to use our d-shackle model on the jig. So we're gonna be putting d-shackles on. It would also be the same if you were to use like a leash hookup or even your d-ring. All of these would do the same type of setup that we're about to show you. Then you're gonna loosen up the nut on this side. And you're going to set it to the distance you want, which in this case, for this, we'll be using the center ruler. So we're going to go with an 8-inch, so we'll set the jig to the 8-inch line. Not sure if that'll show up on the video or not, but we're set dead at the 8-inch line there. The ruler's been compensated for the distance around the nuts and stuff, so that'll keep everything accurate. Now we made these buckles so they can be turned out of your way for convenience for what you're working on. As you notice, we're get a straight shot right down the middle now. First step is going to be take your accessory tool out. Starts back here. A lot of times you just twist it and pop right out. You're going to take that and you stick it in that hole right there. Make sure it's in there good and snug. Okay, you're going to find the center of your cord, which in this case I'm using white because I figure it'll show up better on the video. You're going to start with one side and you're going to make it get through your buckle or your shackle. Take it through, spread it, and pull your cord up through the middle. Simple sliding square knot. That's one side hooked up. Okay, you will be setting that on that side. We'll be working between here and here using this measurement right here. You'll notice that it goes up. We're making an 8-inch model at this point. Alright, so again, we've got our slip knot on the shackle, which slides right there on the bolt. You can put it under the wing nut. It's not necessary most of the time. Some people like to. Just depends. Everybody's got their preferences. We're going to go around the dowel once. You don't need to over pull this tight, because your measurement's going to be exact, so it doesn't matter. And then we're going to take this and we're going to feed it down through there. Sometimes it's easier to pull it off and do it. Everybody's got their preference. I've got big busted up knuckles, so I always pull it off. And we're going to feed it straight down through. Pull out your excess cord. And what that's going to do is give us a good solid base to work with here. Got a loop on one side. Shackle on the other. And this should be where you're at. Separate your tails to each side. So you now have this. Try to zoom it in, make sure you have the same type thing. Got a basic loop there. And the hook up there. And here's where we'll be tying our knot, which this will be the center base. Okay, now we're ready to tie a knot. All depends on what you're going to do and what you want this one for. In this case, we're going to do a simple Cobra. All you're going to do is your basic Cobra knot, where you make your S, go down through it, pull it back up to the other side. Pull it snug. Then the side that comes out this side is where you start next. Make yourself a backwards S in this case. You're going to go down through the loop, back up through the other side, and pull it snug. This time you're coming out this side, so you're going to do the opposite side again. Basic loop, down through, back up. This side, you're always changing each time. You're going to change one side to the next. Cobra's been around for many years. It's a good solid knot, looks good on the bracelet, and let's be honest, they sell good. The jig I'm using today is our standard model. We do have smaller and larger jigs. We have them that go all the way up to 4 feet for doing belts and slings. We also have them that go up to between 2 and 10 inches for doing strictly keychains and bracelets. All of them feature the same engraved rulers. Everything's custom set to the buckles. We can do it with Rothko buckles, which are their standard ones, or we can do it with the blue cell buckles. But if you have another type you like, you can always send them to us and we will set up a jig with whatever buckles you prefer. These can be found on eBay, sometimes on Amazon, and we got a couple nationwide craft stores that are getting ready to pick them up this day. Notice it's just standard. If you've ever tied one of these, you know it's pretty basic. You just keep going back and forth. Just rotate each time. This is being done with real paracord. I know a lot of people use the fake stuff. I think it's kind of a cheat to use Chinese paracord when it comes to a survival bracelet, even though they're not always sold as survival bracelets. Most people buy them, assume it's a survival bracelet. So I think if you use Chinese cord, you should always tell people and warn them that you're using that. Because I know myself, I'd be pretty pissed if I got out in a survival situation and had something Chinese that was going to break when I was in the middle of climbing, pulling, tying a knot, whatever it is, making a net. You know, some of the materials just don't hold up the way the nylon military stuff is meant to hold up to water resistance and also not shrink. A lot of people don't realize they'll tie bracelets exact measurements and then all of a sudden they'll use cheap Chinese, the polyester type, and then all of a sudden it gets wet and it shrinks and the customer's wondering why their stuff doesn't fit them. And sweat can make it shrink and everything else. Okay, so as you get to the bottom here, just find a good stopping point wherever you're comfortable with on the length. I like to use as much cord as I can. I like to not short people. I want people to have as much of the cord as they can get into any bracelet I sell. Which makes it a little tight when it gets to the end here. And I think I can get one more in there. Again, this comes down to personal choice where you stop at the end. Here's the bracelet I just did using our professional series jig. To end it, everybody has their own technique. Some people fold it under and weed it down through the knots. They'll fold it back and weed it under and weed it under, like 2 or 3. That works. Most cases it's easier just to snip it at the end on both sides. Take your lighter, I like to use a torch, it just works better. Get a little bit hot, make sure you get all the frizzies down, and then touch it with your lighter. Kind of give it a little flat spot so it can't pull out. You'll notice it's got a good little flat spot on it. Same thing on the other side. You want to keep the lighter moving so you don't get a black spot. I've noticed some people end up with black spots on them. Not attractive. If you get that, just trim it back and start over. Not a big deal. But you end up with a 8-inch Cobra with a shackle. Just unscrew your shackle. Stick your loops in. There are bigger shackles out there too, so keep that in mind. There's also stronger ones. Watch all the Chinese shackles. Again, if you're talking survival, you don't want cheap Chinese stuff. Just life lessons learned. But that's how you do a Cobra weave using our professional series jig. Okay, one last thing I wanted to show you while we're here is we did an 8-inch jig based on our mark right there. You'll notice, hopefully the camera can pick it up. I think it shows now there's an 8 there. We use this center ruler for that. Difference in our jig and everybody else's is that if you take this 8-inch per the jig and you measure it out, you will see that our 8-inch jig is set up and it makes an 8-inch bracelet. A lot of people's just get you in the area. Ours is dead on the dot, 8 inches. It's something we pride ourselves on, the accuracy of our jigs, and all of our jigs do the same type stuff. You set it for the right setting, you'll have the right size bracelet when you're done, which customers will definitely like. When you're done, you just slide the buckles back in place, and you're ready to do it with the buckles again. Okay, and then once you're done, you're going to take your tool back, your accessory tool back out, and slide it up in here. Something a lot of people may or may not know, this feature also works for something else, which what we use it for is when we're attaching 2 different colored paracords together. We'll slide them into here. It's going to be hard with just these small pieces, but this is how you can attach 2 pieces together, and it gives you an extra hand so it'll be held as you melt it together and join 2 cords. And that's how you get the 2 color cordage going.